Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the 2019 NFL season. It's Packer-Viking week, and it's pretty early in the season to be playing at Lambeau, but the temperature isn't the only thing that's going to be warm, as the competition's going to be hot. In week 1, the Packers and Bears put on an ugly 1920-worthy defensive struggle that left many Viking fans encouraged about our chances in the division, but made me a little nervous given the relative fragility of our offensive line. The Packers' defense looked like the real deal against the Bears' offense, which was up and down last year, but looked pretty atrocious last Thursday. Not just Mitch Trubisky's terrible passing, the fact that the Packers were able to get to him, hit him 11 times, and sack him, 5 times? The Vikings, meanwhile, were all over the Falcons last week. I believe they hit Matt Ryan 7 times and sacked him 4 times, while getting multiple turnovers, including a blocked punt. Normally, the storyline going into the Packer-Viking games is Aaron Rodgers. As long as you have Aaron Rodgers, you're in the game because he is slippery in the pocket, he can run when he has to, he's great at extending plays and connecting on deep passes. But at least in week 1, the story was their defense. The Packers have invested heavily in free agency and the draft in their defense. They have a strong secondary and picked up a lot of pass rushing help via free agency. Last week that showed against the Bears. Now, Thielen has averaged over 115 yards in the last 5 meetings with the Packers. But my question is, will Cousins be able to use his accurate passing to find Thielen before the pass rush gets to him thanks to the Vikings' leaky offensive line? If he can get the passes off before he's sacked and quite probably fumbles, to be honest, will he be able to get the ball to Thielen, Diggs, Rudolph? Conversely, I think the Vikings have a very good chance of pressuring Rodgers a lot in this game, but there's always that chance that he slips free, and the Vikings secondary is more banged up than we'd like. Holton Hill is suspended through the first half of the season. Mike Hughes is hopefully returning soon from last year's ACL tear, and Mackenzie Alexander dislocated his elbow last week and is out almost for sure this week, maybe a couple more weeks. Zimmer's been very coy about it. While Davante Adams has scored touchdowns in the last 4 meetings with the Vikings, he'll likely draw Xavier Rhodes in coverage, who absolutely shut down Julio Jones last week despite having a ton of question marks around his speed and talent and effort, frankly. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is more of the burner deep threat, and he'll likely draw Trey Waynes in coverage, who's also a speed guy more than a technique or power guy. I'm not terribly worried about Jimmy Graham, who actually looked alive in week 1, because the Vikings have a pretty athletic and talented linebacker core, which is usually what you want to control tight end play. So what I think it comes down to is if Geronimo Allison has a decent cornerback covering him this week. Normally Mackenzie Alexander and Mike Hughes are the starting slot cornerbacks where Geronimo Allison is likely to line up. If he draws some third stringer, he could have a career day. The Packers' running game isn't terrifying, and right now the ultra-talented Aaron Jones is sharing time at like a 60-40 clip with Jamal Williams, and neither looked very effective last week. Of course, the story for the Vikings last week was the fact that they only passed the ball 10 times because Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison were able to just destroy the Falcons on the ground. While the Packers upgraded their defense, I think most of the pressure they bring is on the outsides as a pass rush and not so much up the middle, which would be really great if the Vikings' interior offensive line wasn't a little shaky. Last week, I believe their rookie center Bradbury and their guard Elflein did not rank very highly in Pro Football Focus's ratings due to some weak play. Also, amateur opinion, Dalvin Cook is more of an outside runner. So do they scheme to try to run the ball up the middle against the Packers? Do they try to do our strength against the Packers' strength and see who's better? I'm not sure. I think that's going to be a very deciding factor in the game. If the Vikings can run the ball around the edges against the Packers and keep doing what they did last week against the Falcons, I think they win. If they can't, then it comes down to everything I've talked about already. Can Cousins outdo the new Packers defense? Can Rodgers keep up? It's going to be a battle of the defenses and the running games. I think it will be a pretty low-scoring game. I mean, it has total shootout potential. Both quarterbacks are accurate passers and have a lot of weapons, but I have to believe it's low-scoring. It could look a lot like the Bears-Packers game. But for the sake of everyone who has to stay awake for the whole game, I hope it's not. Okay, I've already talked more than I thought I was going to because my guest today is a diehard Packer fan. I love talking football with him, and I'm sure we'll rehash some of this then. And frankly, it's really weird to do these videos without my beer already open. So, one moment, and I will be right back with this week's guest. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. After enduring a myriad of technical difficulties, I am here with one of my longest friends and also longest enemies, diehard Packer fan, Corey Krenz.
Hey,
thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's Packer-Viking week, and so I thought it was only fitting that I invite the... I'm sure it was in Mrs. Jensen's class in second grade. We had a bet, and whoever's team lost had to wear the enemy's jersey. Mm-hmm. Even then, Corey said, even if they lose, I'm not doing it. He wasn't going to put on the purple and gold. It didn't matter anyway, because the Vikings lost, and I wound up wearing a Reggie White jersey to school. Devastating for a second grader. Mm-hmm. But you came out on top.
No.
So,
as usual.
Yeah. It's been a long life. Corey is, without a doubt, the most passionate Packer fan that I know personally. So because of that, this week we are drinking Trap Rock Brewing's a Summer Passion. Is that? Wow. There we go. It is a 5.1% alcohol by volume, and I don't actually know what kind of beer it is, so it's a mystery to me and Corey, and frankly all of you. Maybe I'll look that up after we're done here.
It's beer.
You ready? Yeah, right? Yeah. After last week's, oh no.
Here.
Nice save. All right, so because I'm not sure I got that held that high enough, and because I'm not a bartender, there we go. Oh yeah. Just gotta practice once.
You got it.
Oh. Cool.
Good luck. Go Pack, go.
It's pretty good. Little hoppiness.
Hoppy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I don't know how to describe it. Not like an IPA.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, but it's not super bitter. Pretty gentle on the taste buds. I like that. Okay. Now, Corey, last week I talked to JP about how he became a Patriots fan and how I became a Vikings fan, growing up on the border and, being of two split alliances. Your mom is from North Dakota?
Yep.
Right. And out there it's kind of Viking country, right? If it's Vikings or it's like the Broncos.
Vikings, now Seahawks.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, with a dad Packer fan and a mom Viking fan, how did you pick?
Well, basically, when I was younger, I was always with my dad, farming and all that. And
sure.
We'd always do our chores, and then you'd always watch the Packers, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I think
no offense, I can't stand the color purple. I just can't. Sorry. Sorry, Jake. But that's different. Being with my dad a lot when I was little, and he showed me his Bart Starr jersey from back in his day that he wore in the 70s. And yeah, and I don't know, I just read the history. He taught me some books. I read the history. Was from way back when they started, and
they have a rich history.
And how they're like a state team. And my dad loved the state of Wisconsin, and I just got hooked.
Yeah.
He kind of wishes not really hooked.
Maybe not that hooked.
Yeah, but I love my mom, but I
well, she seems to love you too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, ever since Favre went to the Vikings, she kind of,
Really?
I don't know. She never liked Favre.
Seemed like selling out to her.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, I guess I was delighted. I was excited.
Well, I bet you
Big
were.
fan of that move.
Yeah.
For a bunch of reasons, but and it worked. For almost.
Well, you experienced heartache like we did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. That little like 3 or 4 minute thing he did for Brett Favre did with the 2 Bears
the Bears guys.
The Bears super fans, yeah.
And they made the calendar of heartbreaking interceptions. I was like, yep, we got a piece of that. We got a piece of that history thanks to that 09 Saints game.
That video was...
Okay, so I've been to your house at your folks, and then now your new house.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years, but your house where you live now.
Yeah.
And I've seen your den in both places. You have been a Packer fan forever. You've got, so many pictures of famous moments and memorabilia from famous games. What is your, it doesn't have to be the Packers, but do you have a favorite football memory?
I got a couple, honestly. They're kind of like a tie. Obviously, Super Bowl 31. I was 8 years old.
Oh.
Well, we both were.
Yeah.
That Super Bowl was honestly my favorite because it was a back and forth game a little bit.
Was that against the Patriots?
Yeah, against the Patriots. It was, at halftime, it was 14-10 Patriots. And then the way the Packers came out in the second half was like, we are not going to lose this game. And I even remember watching it with my dad.
Must be a good feeling.
Watching it with my dad, and he goes, just hold on. We'll come back. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. They got this. Because we had a number one defense that year. And that was the last time we had a number one defense. And they stepped up in the second half.
97, right? 97, 98?
Yeah, 96 season, and then the Super Bowl was in January 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that was before the Patriots became an unholy force.
Yeah, that was back when they had Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, that's right.
And Willie McGinnis.
Yeah.
Lawyer Malloy. Curtis Martin. Before he went to the Jets and just that was a bad move.
Yeah, it was a bad move.
But anyways. And the second one, obviously Favre against the Raiders when his dad died.
That was a great game.
That was, when they go and lobby it up like that, like Favre did kind of, he did make some throws where it's like, here, just try.
He went out with his hair on
basically
fire.
It's like playing 500.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Like,
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive. 500, 200, just, and Javon Walker, Donald Driver, Wesley Walls, the only season he played with the Packers, just going up and catching them, and yeah.
That was. I remember that one more clearly than I remember cheering for the Patriots in that Super Bowl to irritate my dad. But I remember that Favre Raiders game a lot more clearly, and just watching it and thinking like, man, you just lost your dad, like, and to not miss the game, but to not. To go out and have like a career day like that was stellar. Mm-hmm. That was fun to watch. My favorite memory probably has to be the Minneapolis Miracle. I've thought about it. Because when I was like, I want to ask Corey this question, I thought about my own, but it's so many of my memories of the Vikings are utter heartbreak. Like
wide left.
Culpepper destroying his knee. So many. The dome collapsing.
Oh God! Robert Smith retiring early.
Yeah.
He could have been way up there with Barry Sanders, or he could have been a rushing leader.
Yeah.
He could have been.
Adrian Peterson being 9 yards short of the rushing record, like so many moments that I remember the painful ones because we haven't achieved that great one, but the Minneapolis Miracle has to be mine because I was at Ward's. Local bar, for those of you who aren't from around here, one of the best places to watch football. I love it.
Good burgers.
And everyone around me was like cheering and like, oh, we did it. And I was like, no. It has to be called back. He had to have stepped out of bounds. He had to have, done something wrong. There has to be a holding penalty. We haven't seen the flag yet. And it just kept, it was like this really prolonged high moment because I didn't believe it had actually happened until the next day. Mm-hmm. I kept waiting for the NFL to post a statement saying no, it doesn't count for some crazy rule, and it didn't happen.
Okay, hold
on.
Another thing, me and Laura were upstairs watching that game, and I was in the chair, and Laura was mad because she was like, again,
right?
Really?
Gave it
Why?
Up again? Yeah.
Why? And I told her, man, there's so many seconds left. Just give it a chance. Well, I jinxed myself. I was like kind of smiling, and I went, "Oh, wow, that really happened."
Case Keenum, who I defend. If you look at his career, he had bad years with the Rams and with the Broncos, but he was great with the Vikings. I remember him when he was with the Texans.
Yeah,
Keenum he's got a very specific skill set.
Oh, he had a great college career at Houston.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I just think the problem is he's gotten into this rut of getting put on bad teams because they need someone to kind of keep the seat warm until they get a franchise quarterback.
Mhm.
And so he keeps getting bounced. But that was a great year.
Now he's with Washington.
Yep. And looked great on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean,
they almost beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
So.
And they were supposed to get just destroyed by the Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
So to even keep them competitive is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Packer-Viking week. In most of Wisconsin, it's the Bears that are the biggest rival. But kind of right here on the Mississippi River, it's Packers and Vikings. You know, the Vikings, I think, have been 996 days since they've lost to the Packers. Yeah. Obviously, we're not including that tie last year in week 1.
Week 2 last year.
It was the week 2 game, so now it's week 2 again, yeah. So week 2 of last year, they tied, but it's been 996 days since the Packers beat the Vikings. What do you think the Packers have to do this week to beat the Vikings?
2 things. Defense. Actually, 3. All 3 phases. Offense, defense, special teams. You know, I know that's kind of cliche, like, well, duh, but Rodgers has to get his head out of his ass. Sorry, excuse my language. I might swear a little bit, and I am sorry. Not sorry, but
I might be able to censor it. Oh, well.
Rodgers needs to just get his head out of his ass and make a goddamn decision.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of times against the Bears where he look at his checkdowns real quick and then just hit, no. Like the one pass to MVS, the basically in the second quarter where it was just like 500 to MVS. He looked at his checkdown, and I think it was Devontae or Jones that was wide open, but he chose to throw it to MVS.
Just kind of shouted YOLO and threw it up there.
There's nothing wrong with going to your checkdowns. You don't have to make a big play. Offensive line, like Lane Taylor, Bakhtiari, they got a lot of penalties in that game. He's holding on to the ball way too long. He's got to make a decision. He's got to release the ball quick. Go back, do some inside slants, like what they did with Nelson and Jennings. Yeah, and run the ball as well. I mean, Lane Taylor needs to step it up and make some blocks, or that rookie of ours, Elton Jenkins, who had a phenomenal, great, I mean, just awesome preseason. I think he should have started over Taylor. Honest to God.
Yeah.
I think his job is on the line a little bit because I could see LaFleur just going, "You're in, kid. Let's go." And also our other signee, Billy Turner, he needs to step it up a little bit, or at right guard.
Right. Okay.
The guy with the weird hair.
Both of their guards got kind of smoked by the Bears, right? They were the kind of the weak spots against the Bears.
They got killed every. Second half, Turner was all right, but Taylor was still struggling bad. It was terrible. Defense just needs to do what they did against the Bears. Now, I don't know if the Bears are that bad. Trubisky's that bad. I don't know if Nagy held back. I think he did, which I'm kind of like, why would you?
Right. In week 1 at home in the 100th season kickoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just a snooze fest in the second half. I mean,
I'm really curious because I have a lot of, obviously Vikings fans, friends who came to me that Monday or that Friday. Did you watch the game last night? Like, yeah. We got nothing to worry about. We got the NFC North. And I was like, well, no. First of all, it's week 1. Like none of the Packers first stringers started. Trubisky looked bad. But I said it's 2 defenses that looked really good.
Yeah.
Not just, like Trubisky overthrew. I mean, his accuracy was bad, but the lines and the pass rush on both sides was good. I mean, the Bears were all over Aaron Rodgers. The Packers were all over Trubisky. And I'm curious because the offensive line for the Vikings looked bad. The new center, Bradbury and Elflein got handled against the Falcons quite a bit. It doesn't really show because the Vikings were able to rush so successfully.
Yeah.
But I don't think they'll really be able to pass very well because the pass rush for the Bears. I mean, paying Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, right?
Yep.
That seems to have been a good investment for the Packers.
Adrian Amos,
he got the pick. Yeah, I'm sure the Vikings are going to try to repeat what they did last week and run the ball a ton, but I think they're going to have to pass to keep up with Rodgers. As good as the Vikings defense is, I forget his name now. Mackenzie Alexander dislocated his elbow. The slot corner. I think he typically plays slot corner for the Vikings. So now he's going to be out for sure this week. They're hoping maybe he'll be back soon.
Yeah.
I think Devontae Adams is maybe going to have a quiet day too, but I think MVS has a big day, and Cousins is going to have to pass to catch up.
Packers might use Graham more though too.
Yep, he looked like he was alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been a zombie for the last couple of years for the Seahawks and the Packers.
And we also got Mercedes Lewis, who's like 6'8". I don't know if your hitman, Harry the Hitman, can take care of him.
He hits hard and he runs fast, but he's not a big guy.
Lewis is a brick house.
He is. Yeah, I can kind of see. Do you think the Packers win this weekend?
You know, I'm going to be a homer. I always am. But I think it's going to be close, Jake. I think it's going to be 30-27. Honestly.
Kind of a shootout.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. I think the Vikings held the Falcons, basically to a shutout until real close to the end of the game.
Yeah.
And the Packers won with 10 points. I think Vegas, the betting is on the under in this game because it's two teams that played really good defense last week, had, relatively low scoring. The Vikings, I don't think the Vikings can count on shutting the Packers out at home with Aaron Rodgers. As long as you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance. And if I'm being honest, I think the Packers get it done because it's so hard to win at Lambeau. But I think this is the most confident I've felt that the Vikings have a chance to win. So I think the Packers win, but I don't think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that the Vikings win. And I think that's what's really cool about the NFC North this year is it's kind of everybody's game.
Well, except for Detroit.
As 3/4 of the NFC North. Final question here before how do you think the Packers season goes? We haven't even played week 2 yet, so you obviously have the right to change your opinion. But looking at the offseason moves, how good the defense looked, what do you think?
Honestly, I think it's going to be close between our teams. I'm thinking wild card. I don't know if they can win the division yet. I think it's going to take a while to get used to LaFleur's offense. Defense will probably step up. I think the weak point is our offense right now.
That's crazy. That's crazy to think. Green Bay's offense is the liability.
We finally made some moves in free agency for defense. I think they stepped it up. Amos is a quiet leader back there. A Nick Collins-esque Leroy Butler leader back there. Up front, you got like a Sean Jones, Santana Dotson, and Reggie, obviously. I think with Za'Darius Smith.
Game, Reggie White, absolute beast.
With Za'Darius Smith, Preston Smith, and Kenny Clark on the line. And another thing I want to talk about, I hope they play Kingsley Keke, our draft pick from Texas A&M, I think. Texas A&M, yeah.
What position is he?
Defensive end.
Okay.
So if you put Keke, no offense to Dean Lowry, he does great. But Keke, Clark, and Montravius Adams, that should be that should be good right there. I think because Keke did pretty well in the preseason. He had some good stops.
As an outside observer, the Packers the last couple of years with King and Jair Alexander. Well, King, if he can stay healthy, I think he's got promise. You don't think so?
He's always hurt. He's always in the injury report. That was a bad pick.
Okay. I think he's got talent. He can't stay healthy.
Honestly, I think Ted Thompson had dementia a little bit when he made that pick. T.J. Watt was right there to take.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
I know Packer fans are tired of this. We could have had T.J. Watt. Seriously, look what he's doing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Look what he did last year.
Pro Bowl last year? Yeah.
We won't talk about the last game, but look what he did last year.
Okay.
We could have had a Watt. A hometown boy. A home state boy.
I keep thinking JJ's going to get tired of the Texans and get traded to the Packers.
I'm buying that jersey.
That's my... Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would wear that one. Oh, big JJ Watt fan. Okay, so let's forget King. Alexander looked great. Yes. They paid up to buy, the Smiths and Amos. I was surprised they cut Mike Daniels, but honestly, their moves on defense have really turned around a unit that was a liability, and now Aaron Rodgers can score 10 points and walk off with both middle fingers in the air. He's having a good time. That totally changes how you have to look at the Packers. Before, if it was like, if you can control Rodgers, you can win the game.
Yeah.
Now you have to control Rodgers and score points.
Yeah.
Like, they're a more complete team than I think they've been. I mean, even in their Super Bowl run, they were not really a stout defense. They just got really good turnovers.
Yeah.
This seems like a team that can actually shut you down. And I'm...
Well, that 2010 postseason, it was basically Nick Collins and Tremont Williams.
Yeah.
That did.
And Tremont Williams is still there.
Oh, man. Oldest defensive back in the NFL.
All right. Well, no matter what happens, we can agree to be friends most of the time, enemies for 1 or 2 days a year.
2 days.
Yeah. Maybe 3 if there's a wild card divisional thing. But it's nice to have someone that I can talk about football like this with a reasonable approach. And after we were in first grade together, so we would have been 6. Man, 14 years. 14 years of being friends and arch rivals. It's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
So I can say good luck to your team this weekend.
Well,
I'm going to say Skálfí Luther. It's Icelandic. It's not even Norwegian. I mean, does that help you? Do you just,
Sorry, buddy.
it's just like a go pack go situation?
Yeah.
Okay, Skálfí Luther.
Go pack go.
Thank you, Trap Rock Brewing. This will be the second week of 4. Corey, thank you for being a friend, a rival, and my second guest.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me on.
Good luck to your team this weekend. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the game.